Welcome to the flagship. I'm Stealthy, and joining me today is Tolsky. He's the creator of Socom Revolution on Insurgency. Thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How about you?
Good myself. We're recording this kind of late. I am a little tired, but I usually normally stay up, but with the newborn, it's kind of tough. But
Oh,
overall, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you were able to make it. I know you were working late, and you were able to join us today. So again, I'm thankful
yeah, I'm
to
glad
have
to
you on.
be here. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. So real quick before we dive into SOCOM Insurgency, I want you to introduce yourself to maybe the newer viewers. Anything sort of like hobbies, what you like to do, or maybe what you're working on. Maybe you have certain talent you'd like anyone to know. Anything that just comes to mind.
Yeah, sure. So, by trade, I'm a software developer. So, I've been like ever since I was little, I've always been interested in computers. Um, a lot of what I did, yeah, when I was younger was just like putting computers together, or making, putting, fixing up computers from old parts.
Yeah, hardware
But
wise, I feel like I was same way like you, where hardware was a big thing in the early maybe 90s to late 2000s.
yeah, so my friends and I would go around like as teenagers and we'd find free old computers off the internet and fix them up and get them working. But I've gotten out of the hardware game now and I'm more in the software. so,
That's
um,
awesome. Did gaming have anything to influence you on going in that direction, or you just like to program anything, like any type of software, Photoshop type of software?
I wouldn't say it was, related to gaming. Um, although, I did do my fair share of like, um, back in Warcraft 3 days, working on maps with their complex trigger logics, and that's kind of like programming.
Oh
Um,
wow,
but it was mostly just I took a class in high school about programming, and I thought it was cool that you could just build stuff by typing. So, um,
awesome. Okay, so I'll dive straight into it then. What made you want to create a mod like SOCOM Insurgency, or sorry, SOCOM Revolution? That is the official name, or is it called SOCOM Revolution Insurgency? What would you say is officially the name?
so the official name is just Revolution. Um,
No
or
SOCOM.
so not technically, no. But everybody just calls it SOCOM Revolution, or some people just call it SOCOM Insurgency because it's the SOCOM like mod that you can play on Insurgency right now. So, but it's just officially called Revolution, but you can call it whatever you want.
Nice. Thanks for clearing that up, because my whole script right now is like SOCOM Insurgency, then SOCOM Revolution. I'm switching back and forth, so I was just curious on that. What made you want to mod and choose Insurgency as the main game to make this mod? And like, why not Insurgency Sandstorm, or like other games that have seen success, like Arma 3 with PUBG?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, Insurgency is just a great game by itself, and it is very similar to SOCOM in much of its like its core game design, such as it uses round-based matches, limited respawn modes. Its damage is kind of more on the hardcore side, where you know it, uh, you go down pretty fast, pretty similar to SOCOM. Um, Really, the main reason and the true reason why I picked Insurgency is because there were already, or in the past, SOCOM mods for Insurgency, which I haven't played, back in 2016. So I already know that Insurgency modded to be like Socom played really well. And there were already a bunch of Socom maps made and worked on Insurgency. And the reason why I got into making the Revolution mod, this was back in 2022, is because someone else had brought back an old Socom mod and they had hosted it on their own server. And I played on that server once or twice back 2 years ago, and I was like, hey, I remember this. This is awesome. I'm glad this is back. And then one day it was just gone. So I reached out to the owner of that server, and he's like, well, it got taken down, and I don't want to talk about it that much, but there's an issue with the crosshairs, and I don't want to deal with it. So I was like, okay. So I was like, well, I decided maybe it's not that hard. I want to take a crack at, seeing if I can come up with something. So that's where I decided to start looking into creating a new mod, getting it working in third person, and going from there.
Wow, that was actually my next question. Is what or how did you initially learn how to create these mods, and what made you create the SOCOM Revolution mod? But you answered that part of the question. But how did you initially learn? Was this always a talent you had when you were younger? As you mentioned earlier, you started learning about programming or
Um,
programming software.
yeah, I mean, I'd say that I am naturally inclined or have able to kind of just, at least in the past, working in modding other games, just kind of curious about seeing if I can get things to work how I want them to in a game. Um, so specifically for the Revolution mod, um, when I started out, um, it was basically like, so the guy had told me, well, it got taken down because of the crosshairs are uh, got a DMCA on them.
Okay, so we're gonna dive into that really quickly, and I was gonna ask about that later, but since you brought it up, I did not know that someone else launched another SOCOM mod after Redline did. So I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, because we had SOCOM Insurgency made by Redline, and then I heard he shut it down by himself, took it all, got angry at the fans or whatever controversy happened there. And now you're telling me a second server was up that you used to play on and join, and then assuming the same thing that happened to you happened to that guy, where he got a cease and desist order because, well, at least what it sounds like on that server, he was using the same crosshairs.
Yeah, so it wasn't exactly the same as what I have done. Um, he just found the old mod files and and was hosting them directly. So the same exact old mod, uh, the mod that we all played back in 2016 or whenever. He just found all those old files and he hosted them on a server. So obviously they were the same crosshairs and everything.
Oh,
And
so he did have a right to cease and desist what he made.
well, I can't really speak to you about that, about um, the right of bringing that down, seeing as how it was it was willingly uploaded to the Steam Workshop back in the day. So I'm not a copyright
Oh yeah, and that's true. Those
lawyer to
maps.
yeah to discuss the legality of using that, of reusing the old mod. But anyway, I didn't want to deal with any of it
Yeah.
that, but I didn't want, I enjoyed it and I didn't want like the whole insurgency, scene to die, or like SOCOM mods on insurgency to die. So I decided to just make my own, and I did it from scratch. And I did that with the purpose of not being able to be DMCA'd. So uh, that worked out well, but
Oh, is that why it was taken down for 2 weeks? Because there was cease and desist towards your project that you built from scratch, and you're saying you didn't infringe on any copyrights.
yeah. So So talking about my server, what was that? Back about a month ago, when it was taken down for a couple weeks, and I don't know if you read the announcement in the Revolution Discord where I posted the full DMCA takedown request. Um, but
Correct,
yeah,
I did. I'm just
yeah,
asking for the viewers, of course.
yeah, sure. And this might make more sense, like if afterward you can maybe like show it to them. But anyway, um, or like you can show it as we're talking.
Sure, I can edit into the video.
Yeah, but so to explain what happened, my server's hosting provider received a DMCA takedown notice from Tracer Interactive LLC that claimed that my server was using their copyrighted works, and it provided a few screenshots. Now, looking at the screenshots, you could tell that they were referencing the crosshairs in Tracer Interactive's game, which is called Task Force. But the screenshots, which were referencing, or the screenshots which were taken from Insurgency to compare those with, they were not taken from the Revolution mod. You can tell that they were taken from some different mod, probably the old mod that has never run on my server, because the Revolution mod never used crosshairs that were in those screenshots or anything similar. And also the character skins, if you look at those screenshots, I've never had those on my server or in the mod. So you can tell that those screenshots were, I don't know where they were taken from, but they weren't from my server. But so I got the DMCA via my server's host, and they basically just pass it on to you, say, deal with this. And so I consulted with two separate intellectual property attorneys. They both indicated that the DMCA takedown notice wasn't valid because it didn't satisfy one of the DMCA takedown notice requirements, which let me read that.
Are you allowed to
Basically,
talk about those, or it's better to keep private in case he came back and tried to do something?
oh, I mean, I don't. I'm all about transparency, so I'm happy to talk about it. Especially now that it's resolved. Originally, I kind of tried to keep it. I mean, I posted what had happened with the DMC takedown, but I didn't post too much about what I was doing as I was still going through it. But now I'm happy to talk about it. So,
Yeah, you were playing the safe route. So, what were those requirements that he didn't meet?
yeah, so I'll read it. Um, so, a DMCA takedown notice needs to contain identification of the infringing material or activity and information reasonably sufficient to permit the service provider to locate the material. And so that's the requirement. Both of the attorneys that I had discussed this with clearly stated that the DMCA takedown notice does not contain that identification or information to locate it because it didn't exist on the server. So essentially, it was kind of an annoying situation because if I, if the mod were using those crosshairs, then I could have complied with the takedown notice and removed them. And that would have made my server host happy. So, and if I wanted to fight that and claim like I can use those, you don't you take them down for 10 days and then you get into a legal battle at that point. But since I never actually used anything that was indicated in the screenshots, my server provider my hosting provider for my server, they were confused because I kept going back and forth with them saying, I don't have anything on my server which is being indicated in the request. And my attorneys have indicated that because of that, the takedown notice is not valid. So after a while, my hosting provider came around and and they just dropped the issue. So
And they gave
uh,
you the green light to put the server back up?
yeah, they gave me back control of the server.
Do
So
you think it affected the game when it because the server was down? Sorry, the server. Do you think it affected it because it was down for 2 weeks? Like some of the community members didn't join, or 2 weeks later the server's back up, same amount of people, same or newer people joined. What do you think happened? Did it affect you in any way?
um, I would say that yes, it did affect the player base because before the server was taken down, community nights, the server was full for multiple hours, and other nights during the week, we were getting the server filled up as well on random nights. But after I brought the server back up, it's definitely struggled. So,
Do you think
um,
that was his intention? Because all of the positive reception it's been getting, he wanted to kind of give it a little hit on the community and lower the player count. And do you believe you're in direct competition with Redline's Task Force game?
um, so I've never personally interacted with him. The only interaction I have had was this false DMCA takedown notice. So not a great experience. But from what I've heard from many other people, is that it sounds like it is exactly in line with what they've experienced. Um, so I would like to give the benefit of the doubt that it was a honest mistake and not a tactic to um, willingly hurt, the revolution community.
So you
Um,
think maybe he looked at it and he's like, oh, maybe this is another person that tried to bring back my old mod and launch it up for everyone to play? Could
I
that be
will
a
s-
possibility?
I will say that is a possibility. It is very unlikely because every video and screenshot that's come out of anyone who's played the mod in the past 2 years has obviously shown what the crosshairs actually look like, what the gameplay actually looks like, which isn't anything to do with. So obviously the screenshots were not from my server. So that's why I say it's very gray, and it would be hard to argue that it is an honest mistake, but I would like to believe that it is an honest mistake, but
Yeah, like
um,
I doubt he loaded up Insurgency and looked for Socom server and saw it there. It had to be a stream he must have watched, all the buzz on Reddit, because I saw your post on Reddit and it's getting a lot of comments on there. So I'm happy to see that, and I believe the community should support you more at this point where, or any future point where someone tries to do something like this and just increase the player base when the servers come back up. And I'm sure they will in the future, and definitely I will as well. But with that said, I want to move on from this subject. Unless you have any closing comments you want to add to this type of
yeah,
controversy, I guess.
just to reiterate for the viewers or anyone listening, like the Revolution mod was created from scratch by myself, and it never did infringe on any copyrights. Hopefully, you can show the DMCA with the screenshots to show that. But I
Yeah,
would
I
like,
definitely will.
yeah, I would. It's been an annoying experience. I would like to give the benefit of the doubt that it was an honest mistake, but I will say, um, I won't. I won't be so tolerant if something like that happens again. So
Yeah, like imagine you made your own game like this, and then someone tried doing this. And with that said, would you ever consider making SOCOM its own standalone game? Let's say a publisher approached you and they're like, "Hey, we'll pay you 100K or more." Would you ever reconsider or consider? Because I've talked to you in the past, and you have told me you don't want to make it into its own game on Steam or whatever. You'd rather keep it as a server, as a mod. But let's
yeah.
say, does the money change it? I guess.
It's a good question. First, maybe I'll talk about why I've pushed back on, any ideas on making it a standalone game. Um, and then maybe talk about if money would change that. But
Sure.
like, I think the mod already offers a really solid SOCOM-like gameplay. So at this point, I would need a compelling argument on why making a standalone game would be better than continuing to work on the mod. Because for me, the strongest argument, or for really anyone, the strongest argument to make a standalone game is, for financial purposes, and that's a fine reason to make a game, and that's a very compelling argument as well. But really, my main interest is that this is a passion project, and I just want a game that's enjoyable, and it's a SOCOM like experience, and it has a friendly community, and I feel like I can offer that more easily and probably even better as a mod than a standalone game. At least because creating a standalone game would require orders of magnitude more effort. At least if it's going to be any good. Anyone can go
Yeah.
out into a Unity or Unreal Engine and find some first-person shooter, third-person shooter template framework, and just slap that on and make a few changes. But to actually make it a polished experience, um, that's a lot of work.
Well, can't you just rip it out as a mod and make it its own standalone? Like, how did they do it, or how did PUBG do it? Let's say for Arma 3. Like, 'cause it started off as King of the Kill. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and it was Battle Royale, and then eventually he went and did his own. Now, I guess that's the question. He didn't rip it out of the game, Arma 3, and then make it its own using the engine and the code he originally wrote, or did he start from scratch? And is that what would require of you to do, or to go get a template like you said, like you mentioned?
um, as far as I know, there would be no legal way to just rip out code from Insurgency and repurpose it as its own game. Now,
Okay.
Insurgency is built on the source engine, so if somebody started a game on the source engine, you probably start out with a lot of things done for you because the source engine probably has a lot of things ready to go for a shooter game. But it would still require a lot of effort, and it's more than just copying pasting stuff from the mod into a standalone game.
Oh, is that why also you chose Insurgency because it had the source engine and it was easy to work with?
Yeah, that's
Versus
one.
Insurgency Sandstorm, Insurgency 2, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that going into it, but that is true. Insurgency being built on the source engine is very, very moddable, and just because of the way Valve, has made their games in the past, they've done it with a lot of mod support and dedicated server support. All of these things, which I think are a benefit to Insurgency.
Now, Insurgency Sandstorm, is it not the source engine as well, or did they switch to Unreal or Unity?
I can't confirm, but I do not believe it's on um, the source engine. So
You weren't curious to try the mod on there or to see if you can pull the camera back to third person? Because I've seen it done with the Star Wars mod. So I'm just curious, because I know also the graphics look a lot better on Insurgency 2, unless you beg to differ, I guess.
Well, I mean, I've never played Insurgency Sandstorm. It looks great. It looks like just an upgraded version of Insurgency. But from what I've heard, is it's much less moddable, and it would be a lot more effort to get to the same point of the Revolution mod as
Yeah,
as it
probably
has
be
taken.
as good as it is, how it plays.
Yeah. I mean, the last that I had heard, somebody had made a third person mod, but they were struggling with crosshairs and all of that
Oh
on
yeah, it is janky.
Sandstorm.
Star Wars is janky, even with the crosshairs. You'd rather go into first person and play anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long do you plan to support the mod or this mod? Is it as long as people have an interest in it and you can play on it, or
I
what
mean,
do you think?
that's essentially it. But so like ideally, like in the perfect world, a game will come out by Sony or some competent studio. And it'll be released, and it will make the Revolution mod totally unnecessary, and the whole player base can just migrate over to that game and support that game, and I'll be on board for that. But at this point, I'm very skeptical that a worthy SOCOM successor will be released. At least one that's more fun and polished than than the Revolution mod.
And you'll be happy to move on from Revolution once this new good SOCOM game eventually finally comes out.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it um is better in every way, I'm happy. But I will qualify and I will say that I'm willing to support the Revolution mod for as long as there's an active player base. So
That's
if
awesome.
if a game comes out and it's better in 90% of the ways, but you know there's some major flaws to it and people aren't ready to go all in on it, then I'll still support the mod if people are playing it. So and once again, this is all just because I just want to play a modern SOCOM that's true to SOCOM values and is fun, and and I will support people who want the same thing.
So what happens if the servers shut down or the whole game shuts down? Will there be like another way to bring the servers back up, or once insert like? Because I heard the developers were fired or recently let go, and then I think they brought back some people to keep the servers running. So does that stop your servers from running if the game shuts down? And if that does happen, do you see yourself then saying, "Okay, I'm gonna make my own standalone"?
So this isn't something that um, I've tested because obviously they still support Insurgency, but um, the fact that Insurgency has dedicated servers, which is basically like the server that I have, and other people have servers and they're running and they're hosting. Um, if Insurgency just got totally taken offline in every possible way by the original developers, I could see some of the features in game, like the server browser not working, but um, as you can see with other games, such as Call of Duty 4, you know, that game is, what is it, 15 to 20 years old at this point. I doubt that Activision is supporting the original Call of Duty 4 very much these days, but there's still a very active community who have released patches for the game. I'm not saying I'd go that far, but at least they have servers that still work and you can still connect to them because they're dedicated servers, not hosted by the company or even through the original company, but they're hosted totally independently and you just connect to that in game. So if the server browser in game stops working, hopefully you can still connect directly with the IP address or whatever. But I don't imagine a day will come that it just stops working because the developer abandons Insurgency.
Yeah, and you're right about that because there's even Warcraft mods that still run, even though they're their own private server. They add their own custom takes on it, and I guess as long as you have the game files, you should be able to run a dedicated server. At least that's what I assume.
Yeah, I mean, anyone right now can just install via Steam the Insurgency dedicated server package and start it up, and um, they might need to do some networking thing to open up ports or whatever, but they can have people connect directly to their computer and play Insurgency, right, you know, from their computer. So
So that's good news. You might be supporting SOCOM, or sorry, you might be supporting Revolution way longer than H-Hour, because that's already off the store. But people are giving it life. As long as we know
yeah,
someone's working on
and that's, I
Revolution.
mean, that's another benefit I feel for having a mod like this and supporting a mod instead of trying to create a standalone game myself, because of one of the core philosophies that I had when I created the Revolution mod is that I've made all the mod and server files totally open source. So if I die tomorrow and I stop paying, and I run out, my credit card stops working, and the server goes down, anybody can just put up a new server exactly like mine, and the community can keep going.
And they'll be able to grab your files you made from scratch to not get any takedown notices.
Yeah, it's all there's a channel on the Revolution Discord with all the file links and instructions on how to do it all. So
Is that how
uh,
Lupin Wolf customizes his own like type of games with RPGs and all that?
yeah, so Lupin Wolf, he runs his own server. So he's taken the mod, and he reached out to me asking me on like how to make some changes, and I've showed him how to do some things. So, and he's worked with other Insurgency developers as well, and he's added a bunch of changes, which it makes it more like a fun server, because like he's installed like bullet time mode and tons of stuff on there.
That sounds
So,
pretty cool.
but anybody can do that. Anyone can just pull in the files, open them up. If they want to make a change for their own server, they can just ask me, and I'll just say, "Hey, change this." If you want guns to shoot 5 times faster, here's how to do it, or
Oh,
whatever.
you just made clan battle like glory right now for people that want to do clan battles and restrict certain things that are cheap. You guys just heard it here. You can customize your own servers for that. Add your own tournaments.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's the benefit of a whole modding community, is that you can make it how you want it. I'm gonna make it how I want it on my official Revolution mod. But if you want to do a spin-off, I will totally support you. If you want if you wanted to make a server that's a SOCOM 2 remastered or whatever, and you make it exactly like SOCOM 2, go for it. I'll show you how to do that.
that is awesome. Now you mentioned there's other developers. I'm just curious. Someone else helping you do Revolution?
So not a developer on Revolution, but so when I say like an Insurgency developer, um, I'm talking more about people who have other servers totally unrelated, who just know how to mod or how to edit server files and host servers and stuff like that. So there's Insurgency is not the most popular of games, but it's still got a dedicated following of people who still make mods for it and are all in on it. So
Oh, so besides you and Lupin, has anyone else joined the team and is helping you actively develop or has helped you in the past that
so
you could credit?
there's nobody really on the team helping me actively develop anything. I will give a shout out to Good, as he's known. He's working on
Oh
his
yeah,
own He's working on his own project now, so I won't talk much about that because I don't know. Um,
yeah, true.
but if he wants that talked about, but he actually helped adding in and making the demolition mode work correctly on all the maps that we have it on right now. So he
Ooh,
did that 2 years ago, so that was a big help. Um, so and then
that
lots
gives
of
me a
people
lot of
have
hope for what's coming.
yeah,
But I'll stop there.
lots of people have given, feedback and pointers and stuff, but any of the actual like mod work has been me. So
Awesome, and we're all thankful for that. Now I have to dive into this. Let's say tomorrow you get online, you got a million people just join your server and they all want to play Revolution. So how do you stop? There's always bad actors within a large community that just want to cheat and win at everything, even though it gives them nothing in real life. How would you stop cheaters? Like, say there's a million. I know you can kick people or ban people. So, let's say it comes to that many people. What would you do? Is there any anti-cheat software already built into Insurgency, or would you add a certain security to counter that?
So, Insurgency is kind of old now. It's a 10-year-old game. It does have anti-cheat built into it, but uh, I'm pretty sure that if you're dedicated enough, that's pretty simple to defeat. Um, like I've already seen people come into the server and with like infinite life hacks and just running around knifing people, and killing everybody. Um,
Oh no.
but that's only happened once, and that's been the only permanent ban that I've actually had to give out of the server. So I've never actually banned anyone else. But
Does that do an IP ban, or they can just create a new name, a new Steam name, and rejoin and do it again?
so since Insurgency is not free to play, that's a bit of a good thing and a bad thing, because it's bad because, it has a cost of entry for new players, but it's good
Oh, true.
because that guy that got banned, his his authentication ID is now banned on my servers. So if he tries to connect with that Steam account, it's just banned. So he'll need a new Steam account. He'll need to pay for the game again, which game's only what, $4. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
not
if you
too
get it
hard,
on CD keys. I think it's $15 on Steam.
right? So like lowest cost $4 on sale. You might get it for 7 or whatever. But it's a barrier of entry that you know cheaters that drives cheaters away. Just for the fact of they can very easily be banned by the server admin, and there's no way of getting around it without paying more money. Um,
Awesome.
but so your theoretical question of if there's a million players or however many. So number one, um, I myself wouldn't be running enough servers to support a million players. That costs quite a bit of money. So if it got to that point, we would be relying on other people hosting their own server. Let's say the
So
Revolution mod is big enough that maybe I'm hosting a few servers, but a lot of other people are hosting a few servers, and maybe in kind of cooperation or something. And but they're each managed by their own admins.
So if the
Uh,
server numbers increase, do you plan to take donations, or are you currently taking donations
so
for
no,
servers?
I have never taken donations, and I don't have any plans to ever take donations. I think I've
What
actually
if you
said
need to
I
open and expand a lot more servers? Let's say 1,000 players get on this.
so I'll say that I'm willing to host more servers than the one that I have now. But if we're talking about such a significant player count, which yeah, that's a dream at this point. But in that theoretical situation,
You never
um,
know.
yeah, you never know. But in that situation, it's more likely I would look into helping other people host servers in cooperation with my own servers. Um, Really, I don't want money to be involved, at least as far as I'm concerned, for the whole thing. Um, so if it got to that point, we could re-examine um, ways to support that many servers, but I have no plans to ever take donations for myself.
Okay, yeah, yeah. As you mentioned, this is a passion project, and yeah. Before we close out, I did want to ask you: is there any possibility this could see itself on consoles, or that's only if Insurgency ever went on consoles?
Um, I think it's a pretty definitive answer of no, that the Revolution mod in its current form would never come to consoles, just because um, Insurgency has essentially been abandoned, or it's not being developed anymore. So the developers are never going to take Insurgency to consoles because they already have
Yeah,
Insurgency
maybe the
Sandstorm.
publishers give it to someone new. Or how about this? What if PlayStation finally gets Steam on their console, and then you can load up and play your games on there in big picture mode?
Yeah, I mean, if that were the case, then yes. I just don't see that ever happening. I would love to support the console players, um, but it's just not possible with the situation we're given, uh, based
True.
on Insurgency not being on consoles and mod support. Even if the game are on consoles, most games do not have mod support on consoles.
Yeah, we did see though the rumor with Microsoft wanting to buy Valve. I think if anyone does it, I think Xbox would get it first because of the backing of Microsoft. But who knows? We'll see what happens.
That'd be interesting, but yeah, I have no idea about any of that.
Same here. So, I guess the last question. I got one more. Tournaments. Are you planning to do tournaments in the future, clan battles, or just plain tournaments? 4v4 brackets. You know the whole ordeal from previous SOCOM games. Because I saw you tried to set one up in the past, and there was a lack of interest. So, would you be interested in doing it again if there was more people willing to play in this big tournament with a prize?
Yeah, so I actually just finished adding clan support and leaderboards. Um, and the next thing I was going to be working on was setting up some private game servers for people to play tournaments or clan battles in. As far as me hosting a tournament again, I would say that's unlikely, but I'll say I'm completely I'm 100% in support of community led tournaments. I will support them from the technical side. Um, I just don't want to be the tournament host or organizer. So if somebody wants to do that, and host a community tournament, I'll support it 100%.
Yeah, you need more moderators, I think, and then they'll set that up. You did remind me. I don't know how I missed this question, but so you mentioned what you have been or what you're working on, and I did see you released a new update with the new HUD that shows your ammo. What else did you add, and anything else coming out in the future that you're planning to do with Revolution, with the
Yeah, so
interface and the gameplay?
so that was another recent change. I added in a plugin which shows you, yeah, basically like you said, a HUD which shows you your current life and ammo. Um, and because that's not built in, Insurgency is a pretty hardcore game, so that had to be built out. So apart from that, another thing I worked on was kind of making demolition mode a little bit easier to understand for people and
To
giving more
track the
indicate
bomb, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
tracking the bomb, telling you where to go and stuff like that. Because before it was just if you missed the text output, then you were lost. So those are some kind of quality of life changes I made just to make it maybe more in line to SOCOM because SOCOM's a tactical shooter and it has some hardcore elements, but it's definitely an arcade shooter as well. So trying to bring and make the mod more in line with that. Um, as far as the future, so apart from the clan battle or tournament servers, which I'm gonna be setting up, um, a few other things on the radar will be like investigating ways for players to customize their character. I'm not gonna be adding clown suits or microtransactions, but some
No
people have
battle
asked.
passes.
Yeah, nothing like that. But you know, maybe if I can find a way that that people can maybe select their skin based on definitely military style, nothing to break the style. Um, but some people ask for boonie hats and stuff like that to be able to change that. So I don't know what is possible in that realm, but that is something I'll be investigating um, as well.
Okay,
And then
interesting. That's really cool. I would like the beanie hat as well. That goes
yeah,
back to the main character in SOCOM. Before Boomer, I think that was SOCOM 1, and then 2, they had Spectre and Jester, and then the other Alpha, or was it Bravo Squad? I can't remember. I guess that leads to another question. Have you played any of the previous SOCOMs, and what do you think Revolution more relates to? I'll give you my opinion. I think the closest it comes to is like a sequel to Confrontation. I would actually call Revolution Confrontation 2, uh, if you compare the gameplay, but just a more modern take on SOCOM. But
Yeah,
let me hear
so
your opinion on it, or your take on it.
so I started with SOCOM 1. It was my first online shooter and had me hooked. So from there, I jumped directly into SOCOM 2 and SOCOM 3 when that was released, and up to Combined Assault, which was the last SOCOM that I played because I never, after the PlayStation 2, I went directly to PC gaming. So I never played Confrontation. Um, so the kind of the original three SOCOMs are my experience.
Both single player and multiplayer, and then also you didn't touch SOCOM 4, I assume.
Yeah, I did the single player campaigns on 1 to 3, and multiplayer a lot on all of them as well, on all each of those three as well. I didn't play SOCOM Confrontation or SOCOM 4 because I didn't get a PlayStation after the PS2 until I got a PS5 a couple of years ago. So,
Yeah.
um, so I kind of skipped a few generations.
Do you plan to go
Uh,
back and play it on the emulator? Because it is available, and they're currently working on SOCOM 4, actually. The private
um,
servers.
so SOCOM Confrontation looked interesting because I saw my friend play it back in the day, and it looked fine. It looks like a good SOCOM game. Um, I just don't really have interest in playing it, especially uh, it it just doesn't look like it appeals that much to me.
That's fair. It is outdated now. And
So
most
especially
of.
if there were no Revolution mod, maybe. But I don't see it being more entertaining, at least to me. I'm sure there's lots of people who will disagree with that, and that's okay. As far as your question to what SOCOM do I think the Revolution mod is most like, I think I'd agree with you in that it's not a recreation of any of the original SOCOMs. I would, so in my mind, um, I tried to take SOCOM 2 as an inspiration.
Is that your
Eh,
favorite SOCOM, and is that why? Out of the first three and Combined Assault?
Um, I'd say that's a hard question. Due to the nostalgia factor, SOCOM 1 would, I would have, uh, it's hard to say what my favorite is. I think I played the most SOCOM 2 and I enjoyed its gunplay the most, except for I enjoyed SOCOM 1's um, hit detection better. SOCOM 3, I would not say is my favorite, but I think it I have good memories, especially with some of the maps on that. But I'd say
Yep.
SOCOM 2 is the inspiration, but SOCOM Revolution is what I'd describe as more as kind of a next generation SOCOM, like you described, um, in what I would hope would be the next iteration on SOCOM 2, um, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the large community mostly wants to see SOCOM 2 every time remade again and again.
Yeah, but
And I guess that's where the larger portion of the community is. There are a lot of also SOCOM 3 fans, but most of the fans go back and say 2 was their favorite and the most nostalgic with them online, that is, at least.
yeah, and I'd say a lot of people will disagree with the statement I made that the Revolution mod is, the next iteration, or at least a
It is a
more up to
modern
date.
take, like,
It's a modern take on SOCOM 2 core principles because they'll say, well, where's the grenade? Where's the grenade spam and all this stuff? But
is there not grenade throwing? I recall there was.
oh,
Or
there's
is it
definitely
the
grenade
arc?
throwing, but you can have a maximum of 3 grenades. So um, I tried to take things from SOCOM 2 and I'll say it, the things that I liked, um, because how do you be objective about what's good about a game? But and remove things that I thought I and probably other people wouldn't like, such as there's no, there's obviously grenades, but there's no grenade spam at the start of every map where you're just sitting there for 60 seconds and you can't
Oh,
move because
that's how confrontation in 3 was. I remember. So I didn't play 2 as much, so I don't have that memory. I remember running out of spawn and getting hit by a nade.
yeah,
If you were to rush in right away, if you stayed back, waited till all the grenades went, you were more likely to survive. At least that's how 3 and confrontation are.
yeah, three definitely. From what I remember, three definitely didn't have such a big issue with that. Maybe because the maps were bigger, but I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it depended on what you were playing. If you're playing big maps, definitely you're not gonna run into that. If you played the condensed small maps where they cut it into a smaller version, you would, and then even you'd get people jumping out of the map and causing the game time to just go on forever.
yeah, but I would say I've tried to make it a more modern SOCOM, um, and I know people will disagree with some things, and they like more traditional arcadey SOCOM style, and that I think that's a great and valid opinion. And if they want that, I can
But
show them.
I disagree with that. I think SOCOM's always been tactical and less of arcadey, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe it depends on who you played with back in the day.
Oh, that's true. You could play respawn ranked also back then. There were some servers like that, and there were some run and gun servers where it was just about getting out there shooting and then meeting up again after you all respawn.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of it depends on how you played it and maybe what kind of rooms you joined. But I've gone for, tried to stay true to SOCOM 2 principles in a lot of the game design, making it maybe a little bit hardcore, with, time to kill's a lot faster. Some people like that, some people don't.
I think it's
Um,
honestly at the best position because I played Task Force and it was literally one shot, one kill. It was way too quick. And then yours, I think it takes maybe, well, I guess you could fill us in on exactly how long it takes to die in the body, and is a headshot a headshot? Because it feels to me like it might be like 3 or 4 shots to take out someone.
so,
Assuming headshot is one shot though. This is in the body. I'm saying 4 shots in the body. I assume one in the head. But go on.
so I actually, when I originally set up the damage on each of the weapons, I looked up SOCOM 2 damage values and I copied them completely. So the base damage values are exactly from SOCOM 2, but that's
Wow.
assuming you have no armor on. Now, the max armor gives you 20% damage reduction, which is not much. So a headshot will still kill you one hit, even with armor. And armor only affects your body. So it's only a 20% reduction. So that kind of sounds contradictory to what we're saying that, hey, we're actually taking less damage compared to SOCOM 2. But I think the two factors that actually make the time to kill faster is that accuracy I've increased a lot compared to SOCOM 2, where it feels like your bullets are just spraying everywhere. There is bullet spray in the mod, but it's not as much. And I've added recoil in some other ways, but if you're a very good player, you can control that recoil. So due to the increased accuracy, players, you can kill people a lot faster. And also the hit detection, I feel was a lot better. I think, um,
Yeah, I
SOCOM 2.
definitely feel it there. And wow, I didn't know you did that much like research. You went to the games and took the hit damages and messed with the recoil.
Yeah, damage values are exactly like they are from SOCOM 2, at least the base damage values. It's just accuracy and hit detection make it
So there you have it.
a
I'm
lot
glad to
faster.
hear that because looking outside from my perspective, I thought it's just the actual insurgency gameplay just brought back. But it sounds like you did a lot of work, and I'm glad you sat down with us and explained all that. And people will definitely be happy to know that it that you worked off of SOCOM 2 basically to get it to where it is today. Um, really quick before actually this is the final question before the closing comments. I want to know if you've done anything outside of Revolution mod, or what do you normally play if not like SOCOM in the past? Do you normally play video games? Do you play single player games, multiplayer games, and what are you currently playing at the moment?
Yeah, I play games whenever I can find time when I'm not working on something. Um, eh,
So it's always been a hobby of yours as well.
yeah, I mean, the first thing that I learned to spell, and my dad still loves to bring this up, is "It is a good day to die" from Warcraft 2. I learned that when I was like 3 or 4, because that's the cheat code to make you invincible, and that's the only way I could win anything back then in Warcraft 2. So I've definitely played games a lot growing up and still now. Um, Currently, um, or more recently, I played a lot of World of Warcraft Classic, and I made some mods or add-ons for that. I don't haven't played. I don't play it now. Right now, I've taken a couple month break from it, but I'll probably go back to that soon
Oh
enough.
wow.
Um,
Do you work with Curse, or you do your own website stuff?
yeah,
Curse
so I
Forge?
have a few add-ons uploaded on CurseForge. Um, I think I've got like 75,000 downloads, so not very much for a WoW add-on, but um, enough for me, I guess.
Well,
So
that's amazing to hear because I'm a huge World of Warcraft fan. I play Classic, regular. I've been trying out Season of Discovery, Cata Classic. I'm actually catching up on retail. So that's very interesting.
yeah, and I've enjoyed that a little bit, but I'm kind of off and on that. I'm off right now, but I'll be back on at some point. But apart from
Nice.
that, I like to play the Total War strategy games.
Is
So,
that for single player? Your single player
um,
experience?
yeah, they have multiplayer, but I don't play the multiplayer. I like the campaign on those games, and I've done some modding for that as well. Not not that much, um, but yeah. And the game I'm mostly playing right now is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on my PlayStation, but it's taken me forever to get through that. I'm not even halfway done with it. So
Yeah, it's busy time, work, family. I know how it is. I just picked up the Elden Ring DLC and I feel like it's gonna take me maybe 3 months to finish.
oh yeah, my friends and I we played through that on our game nights together, and we finally beat the not we haven't done the DLC, but we beat the Elden Ring original game. It took us like 11 months to do that for how
Wow.
infrequently we played, but we got it done.
Yeah, hey, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear you're also a gamer and a long time history of modding. Uh,
Yeah.
any closing comments, any promotions, any handles you have you'd like to let the people know here about anything else about Revolution before we call it? I know I took up way more time than expected and I ended up asking a lot more questions than originally planned, but I just got into the conversation and I had to know more details.
No,
So, anything, let me know.
yeah, it's been enjoyable for me, so yeah, don't worry. I mean, I don't really have anything to promote. I'm thankful for your time. The only thing I have to promote is the Revolution mod. Um, People are free to come play it. Anyone, we'd love to have you, as long as you'll come and uh, contribute. Just come play and have a good
Come
time.
play, and that's how you support it. Get in there. Let's get competitive. Even let's see who's better on there. Let's see who's ranking up. And he's got leaderboards now, so you can challenge people and try to beat their scores. But let people know when are you always on? Like, or not when you're always on. I guess when is the community nights? Is it every Saturday? Is it now every Friday, Saturday,
Yeah,
Sunday?
so right now it's Saturdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'd like to make it earlier. I've got some plans to do it. I've got some plans to start an event soon, and try to make make some changes and get the community and player base more active, so that we can get games going every night. But I'll announce that event in the Discord when it's ready. But yeah, the best thing you can do if you want to support it is just come play. And if you have good feedback, uh, let me know, and I'm happy to work with that.
That's awesome. And we're glad to have you working on this, and we really appreciate all your work and dedication to this project. And we hope to see more from you and hear more from you. And guys, I'll have the Discord linked in the description below. Make sure you join it and you support this project. It is a Revolution on Insurgency. You can pick it up for about $5 on cdkeys.com. It's the first Insurgency, not the Sandstorm one, so make sure to do that. And always you can catch it on sale during the holiday sales on Steam, and it's normally about $5 on there as well. Any questions, join, and Tolsky will be more than happy to answer and hear out any feedback. Again, thank you so much, Tolsky, for joining, and I'll let you close it out. I'll let you tell everyone bye or see you later or catch you on the next one.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, I appreciate your time, Stealthy. This has been a great conversation. So thank you for reaching out and setting this up. And I appreciate everybody for listening in. So have a good one.